pockets, kicking these rocks, it's kind of hard to...
Good evening and welcome to the Carolyn Holt Show. As you can see, I don't have my headphones this evening because I don't know where they are. Well, that's the beauty of doing live radio. You never know what's going to happen. Well, tonight, the show is about food. And the reason we're doing the show about food tonight is because the FDA, they decided that they're going to revisit labeling food because we really don't know what we're getting when we go and make purchases. So tonight we want to examine some of those things. What does it really mean to buy organic food or whole food or natural food or kosher food or any other kind of food? So if you would like to participate in tonight's discussion, you can feel free to call me at area code 323-293-3375. Again, that's area code 323-293-3375. I get a lot of questions, and people love discussing the issue of food because it's not, I guess, what you imagine it to be sometimes. So you can be stymied when you go to the grocery store and you believe that you're doing something healthy for your family, only to find out perhaps the nutrition has not been met, the proper care that you thought that has been taken with your food, it has not been met. So tonight we're going to discuss when the FDA is labeling things, you know, what's really going on. So we want to talk about the issue of labeling. And again, I'd love to have you join in the conversation, and you can do that by calling area code 323-293-3375. And the issue of labeling for the FDA or the Food and Drug Administration, it has come in response to a lot of pressure from the health community, from elected officials, and the public, which is you. You have a lot of influence over what a lot of organizations do and how they decide what's important. But apparently it's been about 20 years since the FDA or the Food and Drug Administration put guidelines regarding labeling. And there has been a lot of talk about one food in particular, one food group. It's called the GMOs, or the genetically modified organisms, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes, because that's the hot button topic, because they don't require labeling, I'll say it like that. And the public is outraged, actually, and very upset about that, and that is understandable, because if you don't know what you're eating and you're paying good money for it, who wants to do that? Nobody wants to waste their money. So for you people out there who are really in tune to what you put in your body, perhaps this is a good mission for you, is to keep the FDA and your elected officials honest about what they're doing, because they are now, I guess, interested in taking steps to redefine what the term healthy really means. We don't really know what that is. It's used a lot in food labeling, but what is healthy? But the current regulations that the Food and Drug Administration has, they allow a lot of things. And one of the things that the public is really upset about that they allow is they allow products like fat-free pudding cups and sugary cereal to be labeled as healthy. And whole foods like nuts and avocados and salmon, which are sources of nutritious fat, are not considered healthy. So it leaves one to wonder, well, why not? How did pudding cup and sugary cereal become more healthy than avocados, salmon, and nuts? It's even recommended, especially if you have certain illnesses. Nuts are one of the first recommendations when you go to your doctor. They tell you that nuts are very healthy to eat. But according to the FDA, it says that in light of the evolving nutrition research, they now think it's appropriate to reevaluate the regulations concerning nutrient content claims, and that includes the term healthy, said Lauren Kotwicki. I guess that's her name. Healthy should be defined as nutritious, but that's not always the case. And they are looking for a way to determine, given the modern understanding of nutrition and what a well-rounded diet is, they're looking for a way to define those things. And that's where you come in, because a lot of you pay a lot of attention to what you put in your body, especially if you are a trainer, or if you are a world-class athlete. If you just care about having a long life and you want to make sure that you do your part, this is the time for you to act, because the FDA has made some decisions that perhaps you won't like. And one of those decisions is to not regulate what is known as GMOs, or genetically modified organisms. Now, genetically modified organisms, they are, it's an unnatural or a chemical way to introduce one food group to the other. And these GMOs, they're brought into the food group by a chemical company, not an agriculture or a food group. And they're created within the seeds of chosen parent crops in labs. And basically what they do, they splice the genes and put two completely unrelated seeds together. Now, normally, this happens through cross-pollination, with bees and other things that make flowers grow and create plants that create food. But in this particular case, GMOs, they're created in the lab. And there are about 10 foods that's used to do this process. And I was surprised to find out what those foods were. Something that we eat every day, like potatoes, tomatoes, peas, soy, corn. Now, what surprised me, cotton. I'm trying to figure out why in the world would cotton be used to modify food. I mean, just think of the digestion of cotton alone. I don't quite understand that. But they use papaya and they use rice. So the other thing that they use a lot is also canola oil. Or I think the genetic name for it is rapeseed. But the interesting part for me is that this modification of your food is not labeled. There's no labeling for GMOs. And many people are upset about, as well they should be, because if you don't know what you're putting into your body, who knows what the long-term health effects will be. And so the FDA has cleverly decided that they're not, up until now, because of public pressure, they have decided that they're going to start to address the issue of GMOs. They seem to think that, well, the public seems to think that there's a lot of influence from one company in particular, Monsanto, and I guess that they are probably the most well-known company that is using the GMO process. And so they've spent a lot of money, apparently, to be able to do this because there is no system that regulates the GMO industry. So if you are very concerned about your food and what goes into it and what will happen, then you certainly need to get politically involved at this point, so that when the FDA does its new labeling process, it will address what you're actually getting when you buy foods that have been genetically modified. But there are also other foods, natural foods, kosher foods, organic. Now, organic foods, they're the only ones that's actually regulated by the FDA. And they have some guarantees. They guarantee that it's no toxic or synthetic pesticides, no toxic or synthetic herbicides, no chemical fertilizers, no antibiotics or growth hormones. And the growers of organic foods, they're subject to certification and, I guess, regular inspections. And you, as the consumer of organic food, it's the only food group where the government offers backed assurance that whatever the labeling says regarding organic, that is actually true. Of course, then there's whole foods, and then there's natural foods. Natural foods are foods that are assumed to be safe, but they don't have the assurance of the FDA. And I didn't know that. I find that very interesting, that the FDA does not label or assure you of what you're getting when you buy natural foods. The same is with whole foods. Now, whole foods, their importance is that they have fewer calories and they have more nutrients, and they are not processed or refined before they get in your hands in terms of what they say. Now, there is nothing to guarantee that, because there is no demand labeling for whole foods and natural foods as well. But one food group that also has certification is kosher foods. Now, kosher foods tend to relate to meat and dairy and parva, and they're generally consumed by, one specific group, but anybody can go to a grocery store and purchase kosher foods. They must come from an animal that chews its cud. That's one of the requirements in terms of the meat. And there is a slaughtering process for kosher foods that has to be precise, because it's to deal with the animal and what's good for that process, and to make sure that it's good for you. So going to the store is not like it used to be. You know, you used to go to the store and shop with confidence that you're going to get what you're paying for. Well, that may or may not happen. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some ways to figure out what the food is all about. So stay with me. We'll be back in a moment. And we are back. Boy, I tell you, this is you never know what's going to happen in live radio. But today we are talking about foods and the 5 main groups, which are whole foods, organic foods, natural foods, kosher. There's a lot of others. There's, you know, fat-free, trans fat-free, gluten-free. So there are a lot of different labels that go into purchasing your food. But the FDA has decided that it's going to implement some new guidelines regarding the labeling process. And one way to ensure that they do that is to become involved in and take a look around when you go to your local market or wherever you go and do your shopping, just to see what it is, read the labels to see what it is that they are saying about what you're supposed to get. But the AARP, I'm not sure if you are familiar with the organization AARP. They have a new some guidelines that will help in reference to making a good decision about food. And they have a section in this month's issue called Eat This and Not That. And basically the idea behind Eat This and Not That is to help you not only with portions, but with nutrition, with calories, because I know for me, probably calories is the hardest area to work with because I love sweets. I could eat them from sun up, sundown, but I know that that's not nutritionally good for me. And so they have come out with, I think, a very good graphic to help you kind of stay on track. And so we're going to start with breakfast. You know, they say that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and I understand that because it's breaking your fast. So for breakfast, well, I think the first one is pretty easy. They have a sugared raised donut and iced latte, which is 300 calories, 14 grams of fat, and 14 grams of sugar. And probably the healthier thing to eat would be the sesame seed bagel with plain cream cheese, 500 calories, 19.5 grams of fat, and 19 grams of sugar. Well, wait a minute. Why would a sesame seed bagel with plain cream cheese be higher in calories than a sugared raised donut and an iced latte? Well, because the grams of fat is higher and the grams of sugar is less, but the grams of fat is higher. So it's not the recommended choice. The recommended choice would actually be the donut and the iced latte. And for lunch, your choices would be a Cobb salad with avocado lime ranch dressing, which is 740 calories, 54 grams of fat, and 12 grams of saturated something. It doesn't even say what the saturated is. I guess the fat is the saturated part. Versus a Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich, which has 440 calories 18 grams of fat, and 4 grams of that is saturated. And the recommendation there is the Chick-fil-A sandwich because the calorie count is lower than the Cobb salad with the avocado lime ranch dressing. Wow. Now, I know I would not have thought that. I would have selected the Cobb salad as being the most healthy for me. For dinner, and these are places that you would go out. You would pick up these dinners when you go out. This is not something that's prepared at home. These are dinners when you're out moving around. It's a ribeye steak and baked potato with butter and sour cream versus an Asiago peppercorn sirloin, biscuit, and broccoli. Now, the biscuit and broccoli and peppercorn sirloin has 525 calories, 26 grams of fat, and 1,760 milligrams of sodium. Wow. Now, the ribeye and baked potato with butter and sour cream has 1,110 calories, 71 grams of fat, 1,031 milligrams of sodium. But the recommendation is that the broccoli and peppercorn sirloin has less calories, but that it's not recommended because the salt content is too high. It has 1,760 milligrams of sodium, whereas the ribeye steak and the baked potato has 1,031 milligrams of sodium. So based on the salt alone, they would recommend less calories, but it wouldn't get the nod because the sodium content is too high. Now, if you are like me, I have high blood pressure. When I initially went to the doctor, it was discovered that my blood pressure was 225 over 115. And the doctors were surprised that I was still alive. Since finding out this information, I've had to modify my diet a lot. And when I was reading this recommendation for high blood pressure, it made sense to me. Now, for high blood pressure, the recommendation is to eat walnuts, not roasted salt nut mix, because the salt does have a direct effect if you're a person who suffers from high blood pressure, like I do. They also recommend peanut butter with blueberries, and with a quarter cup of blueberries at that. Now, the peanut butter, most people enjoy a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I don't in particular, but I do know that a lot of people enjoy that, and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are very good, but they don't recommend peanut butter and jelly. They recommend peanut butter and the actual blueberries. And they say peanut butter, especially when spread on whole grain bread, it's rich in fiber. And a 2015 study funded by the National Institute of Health showed that increasing fiber to at least 30 grams per day for at least a year resulted in lower blood pressure. And so if that's your goal, then this is something to work toward. Again, this information is in this month's issue of AARP magazine. You can go pick up a copy and read it for yourself. It says that those benefits can be undone with the wrong products, though. Peanut butter and jelly sure sounds wholesome, but the combo packs an awful lot of sugar. According to a study in the journal Open Heart, just a few weeks on a high sugar diet can increase blood pressure. Instead of jelly, then try mashing up some blueberries and adding them to your sandwich. Now, that was the other thing that I found was part of my problem is sugar, because I love everything sweet. I eat a lot of sugar, and I know that I shouldn't, and I'm working on that. But I didn't know that. I'd heard a lot about salt being a problem with high blood pressure, but not sugar. Also, if you have high blood pressure, they recommend guacamole versus eating cheese, or it's called a queso dip. And I guess the cheese perhaps can have some chemicals. It says, while sodium can raise your blood pressure, this salty mineral is counteracted by another mineral, potassium. It's a lack of potassium as much as an overdose of sodium that puts us in harm's way. So 1 cup of avocado delivers about 20% of your daily value, plus plenty of fiber. So the recommendation there is guacamole is a good thing to eat if you have high blood pressure. Another area that they discuss in AARP for this month is foods that brighten or help you with your mood. So if you are, I guess, prone to mood swings, then this is something for you to consider. It says that you've heard of comfort food, but most of what is thought of as comfort food, macaroni and cheese, mashed potatoes and gravy, grilled cheese sandwiches, and French fries, ought to be called discomfort food, especially if it's processed or fried in oil derived from corn or soy. These oils are high in omega-6 fatty acids, a type of fat linked to inflammation and depression. A study in psychosomatic medicine found that in older adults, high levels of omega-6 fatty acids were associated with a higher rate of depression. So instead of grabbing something fatty and sad, reach for something lean and happy. So the recommendations are that you should eat spinach salad with cherry tomatoes instead of kale salad with sliced beefsteak tomatoes. And the reason is that spinach is an excellent source of folate, a B vitamin, that helps support the production of serotonin and dopamine, two feel-good neurochemicals. Spinach also provides nearly 160 milligrams of magnesium, a mineral linked to lower depression, and kale has a fraction of this much magnesium. So if you're trying to decide what to eat, spinach salad with cherry tomatoes is better for you if you struggle with your mood than kale salad with sliced beefsteak tomatoes. The next thing that they recommend if you suffer from issues with your mood is grass-fed beef as opposed to conventionally raised beef. And the reason they say is that beef, lamb, and other red meats are packed with iron, a nutrient vital for a stable mood. But take a steak in grass-fed steak. It might be a little more expensive, but animals raised on grass pastures boast much higher levels of two fats associated with better mood. Here's a fancy word: conjugated linoleic acid and omega-3 fatty acids. Now, try saying that and asking the grocer to help you with that as well. That's not easy to say. And the next thing they recommend, this is something I have never heard of in my life, but I'm sure you people out there have. It's called ashwagandha tea, ashwagandha tea. I've never heard of that, but apparently it's very good. And they recommend that over soda. And I tell you, there are a lot of people who struggle with giving up sodas, especially The dark ones, it seems, Pepsis and Cokes and that sort of thing, they seem to really relish being able to drink that. But it says that this ashwagandha tea is an herbal tea you'll find in many, if not most, grocery stores. And a study in the Indian Journal of Psychological Medicine showed that ashwagandha root extract safely and effectively improves an individual's resistance to stress and thereby improves self-assessed quality of life. So there you go. This tea over soda. And the last recommendation is something we hear about all the time. I know I do, and I don't eat it, but I hear about it all the time, and that's dark chocolate versus, I guess, what they call the Dutch processed chocolate. And the recommendation is that if you crave chocolate when you're feeling down, it may be your body telling you to snack on the world's most delicious home remedy. Chocolate gives you an instant boost in mood and concentration and improves blood flow to the brain. But beware of chocolates that are Dutched or alkalized, a process that can destroy 60% or more of the healthy nutrients in cocoa. So, but that's one of the reasons that I don't like chocolate, because for me, the dark chocolates, they have that kind of a bitter aftertaste, and that is just for me. But I'm prone to the milk chocolate, which is not good for you, but that's the one that I prefer. Now, they also talk about lowering your blood sugar. And one of the ways they recommend that you do this by eating salmon and tuna, halibut, black cod, sardines, anchovies, and rainbow trout. But they don't recommend that you eat tilapia and catfish. Now, unfortunately, catfish is something that I love, and I love fried catfish, but it's not recommended eating. So go easy on the catfish, especially on Friday nights and Saturdays. But salmon, tuna, halibut, black cod, sardines, anchovies, and rainbow trout, they're very good for you. Now, olive oil versus soybean oil. And the recommendation, again, is olive oil. And it says that a recent study at the University of California, Riverside, which is here locally, showed that in mice, at least a diet high in soybean oil causes more obesity and diabetes than a diet high in fructose or sugar. So the recommendation there is when you're buying oil, the oil recommendation is olive oil. The next category would be berries, as cranberries, blueberries, and red grapes are recommended to lower your sugar. And cranberry, blueberry, and grape juice drink is not recommended for lower blood sugar. And it says, according to a 2012 American Journal of Clinical Nutrition study of more than 200,000 people, a higher consumption of berries rich in antioxidant and anthocyanins was associated with a lower risk of type 2 diabetes. There's a difference, though, between eating a berry and drinking a berry. In one Harvard study, those who consumed fruit juice each day increased their risk of developing diabetes by as much as 21%. So the key there is about eating, not drinking, because sometimes when you drink these drinks, they probably, in many cases, have a lot of sugar. So they don't recommend that, but they do recommend that you eat as much as you like. And lastly, home brewed green tea versus bottled green tea. Now, I'm sure by now you've gotten the pattern that the home brewed green tea is much better for you than the bottled green tea. And it says that the antioxidants in green tea, particularly a unique compound called EGCG, may have the ability to limit the amount of starch absorbed from a meal and to improve sugar metabolism, a Polish study notes. But don't try to get EGCG from bottled teas. Store-bought teas typically lose 20% of EGCG content during the bottling process, which is why brewing your own is so critical. If you really want bottled tea, opt for versions with an acid such as lemon juice or citric acid, which helps to stabilize EGCG levels. And I'm sorry, but I don't know what EGCG levels, I don't know what those letters stand for. I apologize for that, but hopefully you can look that up so that you can make a better choice. Now, the last area that we want to talk about is what to eat for a healthy brain. Now, a brain is something that's necessary. It's something that we all have, and hopefully we all use. So one of the recommendations that they recommended is Quinn popcorn. Now, I was really surprised to hear that eating popcorn is good for your brain, but eating corn with trans fat is bad for your brain. And it says that although the government is requiring companies to phase out trans fat over the next few years, some microwave popcorn brands contain up to 5 grams, 2.5 times the American Heart Association's recommended daily maximum. Brands like Quinn and Newman's Own have no trans fat, so that's why they recommend Quinn's popcorn over corn with trans fat. Also, to help your brain, reduced sodium soy sauce. Now, I am not a fan personally of soy sauce. I don't eat soy sauce at all, but I know that a lot of people do. And so if you're going to eat a lot of soy sauce, get the reduced sodium and not the regular. It says that fish can be the perfect brain food, but don't douse it with soy sauce. Just 1 tablespoon has nearly 40% of the day's recommended sodium. A history of hypertension can be aggravated by a high sodium diet. So you need to restrict your diet from this sodium, and it should be it can restrict the blood to the brain and diminish cognitive skills, according to a 2014 study in the journal Neurology. Kikkoman and Eden's Organic offer reduced sodium soy sauce. So those two brands, Kikkoman and Eden's Organic, they offer the reduced sodium soy sauce. Also, for the brain, now I know a lot of people eat this, and I do too. It's oatmeal. Oatmeal is said to be very good for you, as opposed to a muffin with butter, which probably tastes better and makes you feel all wonderful and comfy. But it says the average large muffin carries 1/3 of the day's saturated fat and 74 grams of carbs, most of which are the unhealthy refined kind. A study review in Physiology and Behavior found that consuming saturated fats in combination with refined carbohydrates could harm cognitive function. Well, we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that your brain operates at optimum at all times. So one good thing to help your brain out is oatmeal. Oatmeal is a very good source when it comes to helping you with your cognitive skills. So remember that oatmeal is very good for you when you're dealing with the brain. And last but not least, for a healthier, longer life, it is recommended that protein is more important than ever as you age. Experts now argue that older adults need more daily protein than younger people do to offset muscle loss and weaken bones. Think you're getting enough? Don't be so sure. A new AARP Abbott survey found that 62% of participants thought they were eating enough protein, yet only 17% knew how much they needed, which is 63 grams for a 180-pound adult, 53 grams for someone who is 150 pounds, because protein helps maintain muscle mass and heart health. It can also help you recover faster from surgery. So it's not highly unusual as you age, the possibility of surgery presents itself. And so one of the ways to help in the event that you have to have surgery is increasing the amount of protein. So one of the things that they recommend is quinoa over white rice, and because quinoa is like a plant protein, so that's why they recommend that. They recommend protein shakes over a milkshake. Well, they just lost me because I love milkshakes. But that's not recommended. Protein shakes are recommended. It says if your diet is low in protein, you can have a harder time recovering from illness or surgery. A 2015 study in clinical nutrition funded by Abbott showed that drinking a specialized protein shake helped improve recovery in malnourished patients aged 65 plus who were hospitalized with a heart or lung disease. Nutrition is critical to survival because it helps your body keep functioning properly, says Nicholas Dutz, an MD of Texas A&M University. And the last recommendation for living a longer, healthier life is tacos. Now we're going to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to tell you which tacos are best for you. So stay with us. Well, yes, you can eat it, but that'll get you in trouble. I know, because I've had that. I had that attitude for a while, but I realized that I can't eat everything that looks good and smells good to me. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. If you'd like to talk about nutrition and labeling of foods and get your diet together, please feel free to call us at area code 323-293-3375. Again, that's area code 323-293-3375. And we'd love to hear your comments and your thoughts regarding the FDA and its new labeling campaign that it's going to take up. But the important thing for you to know that the only food group that the FDA has current regulations for is organic foods. They have strict certifications and strict labeling laws regarding organic foods. So just keep that in mind when you are doing your grocery shopping. Now, when we went to break, we were talking about foods that'll help you live a longer life. Now, I think this last food everybody loves in some form or the other, and that's tacos. The only problem is Fish tacos are the recommended tacos, not beef tacos. And I didn't know that. I know it sounds like perhaps something I should have known, but I never really thought about it because you don't see fish tacos with the same in the same amounts that you see beef tacos. And it says cutting back on red meat in favor of leaner chicken and fish boasts good HDL cholesterol levels and can help you avoid heart problems and stroke. People who eat the most lean protein, fish and chicken, are 20% less likely to suffer a stroke compared with those who eat low levels of these sources of protein, according to a recent analysis of 7 studies involving more than 254,000 people. So the next time you have tacos, skip the beef and choose grilled fish. That's the other operative part, is grilled fish. So I love tacos and I love fish, so I'm going to do better. I'm going to look for more fish tacos, but in the past, I have to say that's not something that I have done. But in the Los Angeles Times, there was an article regarding mind and body, and it's by Amy Prizer, and it says that your health should be a priority every day of the week, but that's easier said than done. Inspired by Meatless Mondays, the nationwide push for very part-time vegetarianism, we asked 3 Los Angeles area nutritionists to share their suggestions about what to quit or take up once a week. While you might not think such modest steps could lead to sweeping goals, all 3 agreed that starting small is the key to lasting change. Small goals become habits, and habits build a lifestyle, says Brentwood-based holistic nutritionist and health coach Kelly Levesque of Be Well by Kelly. Instead of jumping on a fad diet that more often than not ends in failure, start with little changes. They can build confidence around your goals instead of anxiety. If you're feeling ambitious, you can embrace all 4 tips in 1 week. Now, for Mondays, they say that you should ditch anything processed or packaged. When you do this, you're removing excess carbohydrates, refined sugars, preservatives, inflammatory seed oils, and sodium. Try it on Mondays. If the weekend was indulgent, it's a helpful way to bring elevated fasting blood sugar back to normal. Levesque recently used this removal system on a Cheetos-obsessed client to help her slowly break the habit. Now she enjoys the powdered cheese puffs, and only occasionally. For Fridays, it says to start that day with a healthful smoothie. Weekends are notorious for unpredictable food situations, so get ahead of it all by starting your Fridays with Levesque's Be Well smoothies. She lists several recipes on her website, bewellbykelly.com, and shares a cucumber and avocado version with us here. My formula helps you build the perfect breakfast smoothie to keep you full until lunch and helps elongate the blood sugar curve to a normal range. Her clients swear by the smoothie craving and says that it reduces craving, energy increasing virtues, among them actress Jessica Alba, who turns to them when preparing for big events. So a smoothie. But on Fridays, if you're going to work with her system about a particular day. So a cucumber and avocado version works well. Eat without distractions. One of the ways to do that would be on a Sunday. So if you enjoy your food, you're more likely to stop eating when your body is satisfied, says Los Angeles integrative nutritionist Jeannie Mirmati. And the first step to enjoyment is putting away the distractions, the phone, the computer, books, TV, everything. It might sound easy to do so this one day a week, but most people are so used to multitasking, it can be a challenge to stop everything else and simply focus on and truly taste their food. Mirmati says she advises trying this on Sunday so your "I'm too busy" excuse is moot. Okay? And the last one is Wednesdays. It says on Wednesdays, drink 2 liters of water by the end of the day. Drinking enough water doesn't just help with weight loss. It helps prevent kidney stones, constipation, acne, and so many other things. So just think, oh, I see somebody in the studio now. They're taking her advice and they're drinking water. But just think, for you young people out there, if you want to have a great remedy for acne, drinking water is it. Chef Lala, a Los Angeles chef and certified nutritionist, she suggests doing this on Wednesday. It's your chance to reset midweek. I like to fill 2 bottles so I can see how much I have to go. If you're bored at the thought of water, she suggests making spa water by putting in strawberries or cucumbers. It's like the 4 seasons in your home. Now, that's a great idea, is to put some fruit, because a lot of people say they don't drink water because they don't like the taste. Well, she suggests that one way to feel good about the taste is to add fruit. And generally, I would say that too, just add fruit to almost anything and it will help to make it taste better. So there you have it. On Mondays, get rid of the processed and the packaged foods. On Wednesdays, drink at least 2 liters of water by the end of the day. On Fridays, start with a helpful smoothie. And on Sunday, eat without distractions. And that'll kind of jumpstart you and help you to gear up. And then you can start to add some other days of the week and do some other things that will lessen the effects of bad habits against your health. So if you just start with those few days, then, that's a good place to give yourself an opportunity to see what it's all about and to see if this is something that you can do. And these things aren't very hard to do. And the last thing I want to share with you before we get out of here is that it is said that health starts at the gut level. And so there are 3 things that they recommend that will help with this. It says that scientists have some great news for those who love coffee, tea, and wine. Now, I know a lot of wine drinkers out there. Some of it healthy, some of it not so healthy, and some of it expensive, and some of it I've seen is very cheap. So get yourself some good wine if you're going to drink wine. But it says drinking any of these beverages is associated with a healthy and more diverse community of microbes living in the gut. The opposite is true for consuming sugary drinks and whole milk, as well as for eating a lot of carbohydrates and indulging in frequent snacking. Researchers reported this week in the journal Science. In other words, when it comes to the makeup of your gut microbiome, you are what you eat and drink. Now, I think when I was growing up, it used to be this little saying that you are what you eat from your head down to your feet. Well, this is not only saying that you are what you eat, but you are what you drink as well. So it is recommended that coffee, tea, and wine will serve you well. Now, it says that, to their knowledge, this is the first study to systematically assess such a broad range of host and environmental factors in relation to gut microbiome and at such a large scale. The researchers analyzed, now, this is not pretty, but this is how they found out this information. They analyzed stool samples, and it's very interesting. I guess that is one way to certainly get at finding out what you've eaten. And the idea behind doing the analysis is to really definitively say that wine is good for you, that coffee is good for you, and that tea is good for you. And that's how they found this out. So I know that we have covered a lot of information regarding food tonight, but it will get you thinking to give some thought to what you put in your mouth and swallow, because all food is not the same. So just remember to read labels and to get information when you go grocery shopping, because just because it has a label that says it's healthy or that it's natural, that's not necessarily the case. So I thank you so much for joining me this evening, and I want you to join me next week for another provocative and exciting subject. And as always, we want you to move in your life from misery to magnificence and from subpar to spectacular. And one of the ways to do that is to eat healthy. Good night, and God bless you.
Dear Mom.